Alex Pereira is the scariest man on planet Earth. Welcome to the UCF podcast. Today, we're going to be talking about UFC 303 that took place last Saturday night. My name is Francis. I'm here with my co-host, Clark.
He's not that scary.
And he's fucking terrifying. We're going to get into what went down on Saturday night, but the first thing that I want to say before we even get into what happened is everybody is making an enormous deal of the power that Alex Pereira has in his hands. And he does have astounding knockout power in both hands and both feet. But what people are not picking up on, what people are not talking about as much, is that Poatan is never in a bad position. Poatan is always defensively sound, and everything he throws is almost technically perfect. The biomechanical movements are so sharp every time because this guy has drilled technique until it is perfect. So when he hits guys, it's not that he has the hardest punch in UFC history or something like that. It's that he's hitting you with astounding power at the exact perfect moment every time. And that's what happened in this fight twice. Tell us a little bit about it, Clark.
I don't know. You're kind of already getting into it there a little bit, weren't you? I mean,
yeah.
Round one, Pereira clearly dominates. It's not really even close. He is getting in just an astounding amount of strikes relative to what Jiri's doing. And then in round two, he, Pereira breaks his toe and the fight ends by TKO. It's sad.
He does break his toe. He breaks his toe kicking Jiri so hard that he leaves the corporeal plane. Yeah. His top knot actually did sag after the head kick, which is crazy. At the very end of round one as well, he knocked Jiri out. So Jiri actually got KO'd twice in this fight. He hit him with a left hook at the bell. And this is like exactly what I'm talking about with the perfect placement and timing of shots. Jiri lunges in, and you can see Pereira fade back and throw his famous left hook. And the reason everyone talks about his left hook is because it's the most dangerous left hook we have ever seen. It might be the most dangerous punch we have ever seen in the UFC. And he lands it perfectly. Now, I'm going to talk probably a lot about this fight. But one of the big things that changed from the first time that these two guys fought, because they fought for the belt before, is that Jiri was less reckless and clearly seemed to want to use feints a lot more. And this made him fight worse and have less success against Alex Pereira, because Jiri Prochazka is not an intelligent fighter. That's not how he wins fights. He doesn't create game plans. He creates chaos. And in that chaos, he was almost always in his professional career the bigger, stronger dude, the faster guy, the dude who could take a better shot. And I really don't believe that there's a power difference between these two guys either. I think Jiri probably hits as hard as Alex. When he hit Alex, he would get reactions. But this time, because he tried to play into Alex Pereira's game and tried to match him skill for skill, he was blown completely out of the fucking water. The striking accuracy of Jiri in this fight for, as long as it lasted is 28%. His opponent's 76%. Alex Pereira continues to march up the all-time record for UFC accuracy in striking. By the time he's done, he could be number one. Now, the low kicks of Poatan were huge in the first fight for slowing down Jiri. This time, Jiri was switching stances regularly to try to deal with it. He was trying to feint. And the one time that he did actually catch Pereira was blitzing in off of a low kick, which clearly is something they trained. It just didn't matter. It just didn't matter, because every single time you attack Alex Pereira, he is going to counter. And he is always going to counter with a well-measured and well-timed shot that is going to hurt you worse than whatever you just threw at him. And when he attacks, like we saw with the head kick, same deal. Perfect timing, perfect setup, fucking kill shot, dude. I'm almost forced to be reserved because of I'm genuinely, the entire MMA space is. Everyone is in awe of Alex Pereira. because not only did he come in and make this look fucking easy against the number one guy in his division, he did it on 2 weeks' notice. He was in Australia working at a seminar when he got the call for this fight. On the flip side, Jiri Prochazka was apparently meditating in the dark in a cabin in the woods. So his opponent was attempting to ascend to a higher plane, and he was just teaching a seminar in Australia, and he's still able to show up on 2 weeks' notice and do that. It's insane. It's just fucking insane.
I don't want to make any shaman allegations, but I mean, come on. We have to at least consider the possibility that some voodoo was involved in this, right?
Well, you know what's so crazy too is that Pereira agreed to Prochazka's request. He said, "Yeah, we can do it. No magic."
No magic. I love the implication that they were using magic in all their other fights. Casting fist repeatedly. But yeah, Pereira, honestly, it was just insane. This is a guy that's, I think, is going to be in the position he's in. He's going to have this belt for a long fucking time, honestly.
Yep. And I would be so interested whether or not he can be the second true authentic 2-division champion simultaneously, because the only person in the UFC to actually hold and defend 2 belts was Amanda Nunes. # we love women. But
love them, baby.
Alex Pereira, like, looking at the one heavyweight fight that was on this card, looking at the average heavyweight fight, Alex Pereira doesn't have to put on weight to knock these guys out, to be able to deal with heavyweight. So Alex Pereira, realistically, I'm not even joking, can just stay at that 205-pound like range that he's at right now and probably take out the entire heavyweight division, or at least get close. Like Tom Aspinall and Curtis Blades are some of the only people that make me actually worry for Pereira going up. And those are 2 of the most, like, the 2 of the only good heavyweights.
That'd be fucking crazy if he actually did that, to be completely honest with you. People would be fucking in the streets if he did that.
Well, and beyond that, beyond that, just one more thing to note about Alex Pereira. In the post-fight interview, they asked him what chama means. And chama is a word that he has now popularized. It's Brazilian slang. And in the post-fight interview, the explanation that we got is that it could mean kind of anything. It's agreement or disagreement, depending on how you say it. So it's like, oh, do you want to go to the gym today? Chama. Or, hey man, let's go train. Nah, chama. So now he's also just expanded Portuguese slang to the entire fucking MMA world, because we're all saying it now. which is
illegal stream I was watching, everyone was putting in all caps after that head kick.
Yep, absolutely, man. Alex Pereira is unironically the scariest man on planet Earth. During the stare down with Jiri, neither one of them flinched for a full 5 minutes, a full round of fighting. They stared down before this fight even started, and neither man flinched. And then as soon as the fighting started, Jiri did. Like, it's
Kino. It's Hollywood.
Kino. I can't fucking wait to see him fight again. And, what he keeps saying is, I want to fight again soon. This is how he did it when he was in kickboxing. He fought like 3 times a year. This is almost unheard of for a UFC champion. He's 37 years old and he's not slowing down. Just an astounding human being. I'm fucking so happy he came to MMA. And I can't wait to see what he does next. Before that,
that's it.
Yeah, I mean, that honestly, you could do the whole podcast on it, but we're not gonna, because there's a lot to talk about in this co-main event as well. You might notice that one of the guys who was supposed to be fighting is not in that picture there. Dan Ige is there instead of Brian Ortega. Dan Ige took this fight on 4 hours notice. Not a day's notice, not a week's notice, 4 hours. He is a guy who trains in Las Vegas, where this card was taking place. So they called him. They called him and said, "Would you be ready? Could you show up?" And Dan Ige said yes. And they even showed, his DMs with the UFC matchmaker saying, "Do not take this opportunity away from me." Like, being that gung ho to fight on 4 hours notice. Now, Dan Ige did not win this fight, but if it had been a 5-round fight, he probably would have. Diego Lopez continued to look just astoundingly fast. And especially in round one, he got the better of the striking on the feet. And then towards the end of round one and throughout round two, he transitioned to more of a grappling heavy attack on Dan Ige. And the reason that he did that is because Ige caught him a couple of times. And 50K Ige, right? He chose his fight name for getting bonuses from knockouts, hits really fucking hard. The problem with Dan Ige, and what I've always said, is that this man has every physical gift and attribute, and he actually has all the skills too. He just has trouble putting it all together and using it in a coherent way. So by the time you get to round number 3, he's finally listening to his coach. He's using straight punches to intercept Lopez as he comes in with his looping hooks. And he hurts him, and he's finishing this fight with ground and pound, right? Like an amazing third round. So even though Dan Ige does not pick up the win, these guys do put on an amazing fight, and Ige does not look worse. His value does not go down from this fight because on 4 hours notice, he was almost able to knock out the new hype train.
Yeah. Genuinely impressive shit, like 4 hours notice. I think a lot of people maybe don't fully realize how little time that is. These guys usually have like months, right? Sometimes longer than that to prepare. He said 4 hours going in there and putting on that type of performance, man. That's fucking crazy, honestly.
Yeah. Now Lopez did win this fight. It was close, but he very clearly took rounds 1 and 2. And also, yeah, absolutely. But like the one thing that I really want to emphasize is that I think we saw that Lopez can be outgunned. He hasn't been outgunned yet. These guys were fighting at a catch weight of 160 pounds just because Ige didn't have time to make weight in 4 hours. But these guys are both 145ers. Lopez, I think, ran into his first real challenge at 145 pounds. Dan Ige is not Brian Ortega. And by the way, Ortega was out because the day of the fight, he ended up having a very high, heavy fever, kind of out of nowhere. And they couldn't medically clear him to pregnant fight. Oh my God. Who's the father? Anyways. So Lopez also had to take this fight on 4 hours notice. It is worth mentioning. And Lopez did cut to 145 pounds on Friday to be able to make weight. So he did go through the full weight cut that's going to drain you. So if Ige had to make weight and fight Diego Lopez, we don't know that this fight would have gone the same way. But Lopez came out of it looking a hell of a lot better than he went into it because we saw him get tested and he did not fold. And Dan Ige showed up and reminded us that he is as game as anybody at 145 pounds. And awesome. Absolutely.
Awesome, dude.
Now, before that is something less awesome.
Not quite as awesome.
Anthony Smith may or may not have early onset dementia because for 3 rounds, he forgot how the fuck to fight. This is a unanimous decision loss where Roman Dolidze didn't even do all that much. This is honestly, I just don't even understand Anthony Smith sometimes because sometimes he shows up and he'll like out punch like Ryan Spann, Superman Ryan Spann, who is this killer heavy-handed puncher. Anthony Smith will outgun him. In this fight, it looked like Anthony Smith had the heavier punches, and playing off of this dementia joke, would just stare across the octagon like he was continuously forgetting who the fuck Roman Dolidze was. Wait, who is he again? Punch. Wait, who is he again? Punch.
Who is this guy?
Like, just I can't even begin to understand. Like, Smith threw half as many strikes while advancing. Smith just spent like so much time getting his ass whooped, and then like there was the one moment when he got to his feet at the end of round 2 after Dolidze had him against the fence just beating him for a full round, and he like had this little spur of energy where he came at him, and it's almost like Smith's like chin ran into Dolidze's shoulder while advancing and he got scared. I don't know if he's been concussed recently or what, but that would explain the sort of performance he had, because it was just terrible.
It really was like a frightened animal type shit. where he was not going in. He was trying to keep his distance, and he just wasn't throwing punches. I don't know. It was just kind of crazy to watch a little bit. I don't know what was wrong with him. I don't know. Maybe he was concussed recently or something.
Yeah. So this one sucks too because we both picked Smith because it
really
did seem like the obvious. It really seemed like the obvious choice because Roman Dolidze is coming off of 3 losses in a row. He's moving up a weight class to fight Smith at 205 instead of 185 where he normally is. There was every reason to assume that Smith was going to be able to get this done, and then literally forgot how to fight.
Doesn't know how to fight. Yep. You got to pick fighters that know how to fight. Actually, that's a good advice for future prediction videos.
Absolutely. Well, and if only we had seen the brain scans that showed this.
They should release the MRIs of every fighter before the fights, or else it's not fair.
Clearly.
Give me my money back, bookies.
Roman Dolidze then after, shouting about how he's going to be in the top 10 of 2 different weight classes now. Light heavyweight sucks. Honestly, if Roman Dolidze went up, he would be a little bit more talented than a lot of the guys up there, but if he wasn't able to get a timid Anthony Smith out of there, he should probably stay at 185.
Yeah, honestly, dude. This was your time to like, oh, look, remember that one fight that I did knock the guy out? And he didn't do it.
Yep. So a real disappointing performance from both of them. But anyways, moving on down the card. What's that?
No.
What's that?
I'm not mad. I'm just sad.
I almost just want to show the picture of like the gash,
and then we can
the gash down to the bone. God. Yeah, really all that happened was that Mayra Bueno Silva was winning. And then at the start of round number 2, Macy Chiasson took her down and threw the most horrific elbow that I've seen in a long time.
It's a serious elbow, man.
And sliced her down to the bone. Opened a brand new mouth above her, I think it was her right eyebrow. And as soon as the doctor saw it, he's like, that's too deep.
Yeah.
And they called it immediately.
I like how she jumped over and tried to talk to Dana White as well, which is so funny. Could you imagine if he intervened and like forced them to fight?
Well, also, I think just like she's going there to be like, I still want to fight. You can't count this as a loss. You can't punish me for this.
Yeah,
but the funny part about that was Dana White and the guys around him trying to lean back so that they're not going to get sprayed by the gushing blood coming out of her forehead. God,
dude. The reason this fight sucked for me is because in the prediction video, I was like, oh, this is like going to be interesting. And we'll see like which one's actually good a little bit, maybe in the division. Nunes is gone. Everyone's trying to make a name for themselves. That's the big topic. I don't think either person really made a name for themselves here because it just got stopped after this gash. And hey, it was a good gash, but I don't think that Chiasson actually could do that consistently. It was more just like a heat of the moment type thing, kind of a lucky strike. So unfortunately, there's really not much to say about either of these fighters. I mean, Silva looked good in round 1. That's about it. That's all we know.
Yep. I will make mention that Macy Chiasson, they were mentioning on commentary that she had taken some time off and found a new nutritionist and had put on more muscle.
She was sharpening her elbows.
Yeah, sharpening her elbows. No, the reason I mentioned that is usually when someone has a physical transformation and they attribute it to nutrition, they were already a professional athlete.
Is there an implication that you want to implicate? What is that?
That they could have, done a cycle and got off and then got like physical gains and then came back. So that sort of thing happens a lot. And my ear's always to the ground with that sort of stuff because the steroid subterfuge in MMA is honestly so interesting. Like who gets away with it, who gets caught, the different techniques they're using to cheat sometimes. But
steroid subterfuge would be a good name for like a punk rock band.
Yeah, actually it would be. But yeah, not too much more to say about this one. We had the gash and that was it.
Thank you, woman.
Thank you. Before that, we had, some people are probably going to think of this fight as being boring. I was ecstatic. I was yelling at the TV. I thought this was fucking genius because so often you see guys like just not game plan, just not have a plan. Just I'm gonna force my fight on the other guy, and that is a way to win. And there's plenty of guys who have made it to championships with that mindset. But if you're like an adult with a functioning brain, you should be able to recognize that there's going to be guys out there faster or stronger than you. and that you might have to try to outsmart them, and that you can't just outmuscle everybody. In this fight, Ian Machado Garry outsmarted Michael Venom Page. Before the fight, when he's walking up, before he gets the Vaseline put on his face, he runs into the crowd and he hugs Oliveira, who is the guy with the most submission finishes in UFC history. And we find out that he went to Brazil and trained with him for this fight camp. So throughout 3 rounds, Ian Garry got very close to submitting Michael Page a lot.
Yeah.
And through 3 rounds was able to completely neutralize one of the most dangerous strikers in mixed martial arts history. In the pre-fight, I showed that dude's skull that Page had caved in with a flying knee. Another thing that I thought was really impressive, and not something that Garry should rely on, was Gary's chin looked outstanding. He was taking punches that were knocking around Kevin Holland and didn't even flinch, barely reacted, and often got out of the way. Looking just at the stats for this one, you can see that a lot was getting thrown, and a lot of it was at distance for Michael Page. A lot of it was in the clinch or on the ground for Garry. But Michael Venom Page only getting like 55% accuracy on his strikes is actually like below his average. Garry was actually doing a little bit defensively, especially in round 1, to get away from those shots. Garry himself at distance was having trouble finding Page. So, and everybody does. He's the most elusive fighter. So using this sort of a heavy grappling approach and actually hunting for submissions, actually taking risks to try and get those submissions. It was an intelligent performance. It was a good game plan. I'm sure some people thought it was boring, but I was honestly impressed. That's the sort of shit that champions do, is they plan for a fight. They actually think things through.
I was pleasantly surprised when I saw him go in hardcore for the grappling. And man, he almost got some of those sub attempts. I wish he'd gotten one, but he was looking pretty good in there. And honestly, credit to Page. A couple of those times I was like, holy shit, he's got to be cooked. And I honestly, didn't I say to you, I thought that like one of the times he was throwing punches that I thought he was like trying to tap.
Yeah.
But yeah, Page actually scrambling out of some of those and working his way out was pretty impressive too. But yeah, Garry clearly had the read on this one. A lot of grappling getting done, not a lot of striking. A lot of people think that's boring, but hey, I think it's kind of cool sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, there were a few grappling matches on this one that really were not boring. Our one of our younger brothers was mentioning that his favorite fight that he saw yesterday was one of the grappling matches, the flyweight one, where they were just 2 moving pretzels, basically. The grappling doesn't have to be boring. It's just need someone. It just often is, because it's the way the guys try to take breaks or hide from power punching. And in this case, he was actually using it to hunt for a finish, which is what you want to see. So great performance from Ian Garry. He's now 15-0. He's probably getting a title shot in the next year or so, if I had to guess. Moving down to our prelims, we have the first of the fights that I'm going to get really fucking mad over. I didn't get all that mad over the Anthony Smith fight because it was more confusing than anything. This is pathetic. Marc-Andre Barriault did not throw a single. They're showing attempted significant strikes. I doubt it. I didn't see him try to throw a single fucking punch. He put his hands up and retreated from the moment that this fight started up until Joe Pyfer hit him. Okay? If you sign on the dotted line to fight a guy that you're just so afraid of, you're not even going to engage with him, are you literally, is your job getting knocked out? So you've just proven that you're a fucking can and no one ever has to take you seriously as a contender ever again. Just fucking pathetic. Joe Pyfer was accurate with his shots. He caught Barriault on the way down with a shot that really, took the lights out. But he had no resistance.
It genuinely was just so pathetic watching it. It was like, actually, what causes this to happen? We're talking about Smith, was he cussed recently? Like, what the fuck happened to Barriault recently that he's doing this shit? Like, literally no significant strikes in this fight, and then you just get knocked out. What's even the point? Did you just rig the fight? You made a bunch of money? Did the bookie just give you a huge cut? At least I could understand that, but this is just fucking stupid.
So there's a fight I'm going to bring up from a long time ago, and it was Anthony Johnson versus Glover Teixeira. And I remember seeing an interview with Rumble, rest in peace, big man, he's dead, that he said the only guy on his initial run in the UFC light heavyweight division, the only guy who actually looked like he was ready to fight him was Glover Teixeira. And Glover did get knocked out in the first round. It was an uppercut. He knocked one of Glover's teeth out. But you know what? Glover was actually advancing and trying to punch him, so he didn't look like a pussy when he got knocked out. That's the fucking difference between what happened here and what happened there. If you sign on the dotted line to fight somebody, you better be ready to fucking fight him. Otherwise, I don't know why you're there. I will never pick Marc-Andre Barriault again. That was a pathetic performance. Anyways, moving on.
You're personally hurt by this one, huh? You want to give him a call?
And I'm also going to be bitching about the other male.
I guess I could feel a little smug because I picked Pyfer because I kind of predicted that Barriault was just going to get clocked like that. I did not think it was going to be that, like just nothing of a fight, though. I thought there'd be a little bit of something. But pretty rough.
Absolutely. Before that, we had the fight of the night, which it was awesome.
This was great.
These two guys, fighting to be the guy with the most ink in the UFC, just covered in tattoos. Super close fight. The judges, one of them gave it to Cub Swanson. I didn't see it that way, but this was I think the old term would be a slobber knocker. These guys were throwing from start to finish. They were landing, and they were not backing up. Fili, just a little bit younger, wearing those punches a little bit better, and also having, the height and reach advantage. He was able to keep Cub Swanson off of him. And by the time the Cub finally had his range and was starting to land a little bit more, Fili mixed in the takedowns. He's a team alpha male guy, so he's got really good wrestling. And he was able to neutralize Cub Swanson for most of that third round. Taking a pretty nice win. We both called Fili on this one. Yeah. Cub Swanson is 40 years old.
He didn't really look 40.
No,
out there tonight, he did not look 40. He looked good.
He did, honestly, and it was like a super close fight. I'm so happy that these guys both get this fight of the night bonus because they've been on the receiving end of some pretty brutal losses. So happy for both of these guys. Great fight. Cub Swanson is old as fuck, so it's nice that he's still getting in there and showing he has it. Andrew Fili really continues to look limited, and I think he's probably has some losses in his future, so it's nice that he gets this win bonus.
Unless he gets one win, right?
Yeah.
Invest this one, Fili.
Going a little bit further down the card.
Oh, let's go, baby.
I'm about to get angry again.
You love Leafs.
Charles Jourdain. I was watching some of the weigh-ins on Friday, and I saw Charles Jourdain getting very angry that John Silva did not make weight. So we have another guy who has decided that he's not going to make weight. Now, unlike Kelvin Gastelum, he didn't show up and say, can we do this at like a weight division above where we are? But John Silva did not use his full time to try to make weight. And he weighed in, I believe, 2.5 pounds over the limit. Now, that doesn't sound like a lot, but what that means is that they realized it was going to be a hard weight cut. And instead of trying to get there like a professional, he gave up and weighed in above the weight limit. That's fucking cheating, okay? And Charles Jourdain does get a portion of John Silva's purse, but he still is not getting his win money. He is still not making as much as if his opponent actually had to fucking make weight. Now, Charles Jourdain was not as gun-shy or, pathetic as Marc-Andre Barriault. These two guys trained at the same gym. They have historically fought kind of similarly. But Charles Jourdain, every time he got hit, he was getting hurt. And I've never come to dislike a fighter's personality so quickly, just off of like, a round and a half of fighting as I have Jean Silva. Just the least likable person I have ever seen, constantly going for like these, dap me up. And just like the taunting and all of it.
Those are the guys you desperately want to get like a serious real fight and then just get fucking annihilated.
Well, yeah, and so Jourdain gets KO'd in the second round. He gets hurt in the first round. Silva very clearly has this killer power advantage, but it's two things, right? First, Jourdain looking so scared of the power. Why are these two fighters from the same fucking gym, these two Quebecois guys, why are they so afraid of guys with punching power? Are we not supposed to be from the kill or be killed gym? Are we not super hardcore? Immediately afraid of the power puncher. And the flip side of it too is that if Silva actually had tried to cut those last 2 pounds, I bet he would not have looked like he did. So just like a scummy dude, all this fucking cheating, I'm getting so tired of it.
Right? Just, we're talking a lot about all this cheating and shit. But yeah, because like when you don't do the full cut, or like when you don't commit to the full cut, you're like, you look a little better because you haven't like not eaten anything, for a while, right? Like you look a little stronger, you look a little healthier, look a little more water weight on you. And just refusing to do that, it puts you in a better position, even if it is only a couple pounds.
Absolutely. If you spend that extra hour in a sauna to try to get it off of you, it drains you. And weight cutting is stupid and dangerous generally in mixed martial arts. A lot of people believe that if we're going to have a fatality in the UFC, it's not going to be in the octagon. It's going to be during a weight cut. So to just kind of say, you know what, I won't do it. Like it is in like a very objective sense kind of smart, as long as you're never really going to be punished for it. And if you're only losing like 15% of your purse and you still get a win bonus,
right? Like there's no real, I feel like you just have to make the cut of the purse way like harsher or something like that. And then people won't fuck around as so much with it, because 15%, that's not very much, relatively speaking. A lot of guys would eat that if it means they get a win.
Yep, absolutely. But we're going to have to deal with the Lord here, John Silva, again, since he got
But he did look like a wicked soy boy when he won, though. He put the glasses on and everything. He could do like the soy jack face. Put it up, Francis.
I will. So going down the card a little bit further, we had our crazy prospect looking like a crazy prospect.
He looked good, man. I'm so glad I didn't talk myself out of picking him.
Yeah, he immediately iced the Desert Warrior. He actually almost, in the post-fight interview, he said, I kind of was hoping for more. That's why I paused after I dropped him, because I was hoping that he would be able to get back up. And he couldn't. Payton Talbott looked outstanding, and he didn't do anything all that crazy. All he did was a 1-2, a jab to a straight punch. And that's all it took to knock out Yanis Ghemmouri. Payton Talbott is now on, is it 3 first-round finishes? He's looking a lot like Diego Lopez was as he was getting going. He's very young. He is now, 9-0? Undefeated fighter, incredibly fast, very sharp, accurate, and he's got the power. There's just not a lot more to say about this because he threw
because it happened in 20 seconds, right? But fuck,
yeah,
he looked good. He's only 25 too. He's got a lot of time, still got a lot of room to grow too. This guy might be fucking crazy, honestly.
Yeah, absolutely. One to watch for sure. Before that,
thank God it's women.
Thank God we got one Canadian win on the card. Jillian Robertson continuing to rep Canada better than any of the men. Beat the fuck out of Michelle Waterson-Gomez.
Just domination.
If you look at these numbers, it ain't close. It's not even remotely close. And by position, you may notice that Jillian Robertson manhandled Michelle Waterson-Gomez and just punched her on the ground relentlessly and elbowed her for 3 rounds. She was looking real bloody and blue by the end of the fight. And it's very sad as well, because this was her retirement fight. Michelle Waterson-Gomez retired in the octagon after this fight, and the UFC played a big, nice highlight reel for her retirement. And she was, just standing there leaning on Joe Rogan, crying, very emotional. It sucks. It sucks for the karate hottie that her career just did not go the way that she was hoping. She was like a genuine WMMA pioneer. But she got her fucking ass whooped for 3 rounds. Let's go, Canada, man. Baby. Yeah! Fucking love WMMA. Honestly,
women, again, thank you, women.
Have we had a bad WMMA fight in a month?
I'm trying to think. We probably had one. I mean, like, probably. But none of them
Probably
have been
one.
that bad.
Yeah, absolutely. None of them have been as bad as what happened before, which was Marc-Andre versus
Do we even have to fucking
Andrei Arlovski. I told you guys if Andrei Arlovski was going to win this fight, it would be because he leaned on his opponent for 3 rounds on the fence and the judges just wouldn't be able to pick a winner. This was by split decision because so little actually happened in this fucking fight.
This is like
the ref broke them up on the cage
and to do
3
it repeatedly because they just fucking kept, like, he broke them up and they just immediately went back to it.
So this is why I say Alex Pereira can probably immediately kill the heavyweight division, is because these are 2 heavyweights. They get tired in all of 2 minutes and they can't do much.
These guys, though, come on, these guys, that's not fair. These guys aren't representative. I could probably beat these fucking guys.
Martin Buday is 100% representative of the majority of the heavyweight division.
Wrong.
Right. And that's, like, again, I'm happy I got to pick Andrei Arlovski. If you look at the numbers, he does actually get the striking advantage in every single round. Was this a robbery? No. No one could give a single fuck over who won this fight. But Andrei Arlovski continuing to do the exact same thing he's been doing for like 6 years to almost get a win. Martin Buday looking just pathetic, not being able to deal with 45-year-old Andrei Arlovski.
Like, these 2 should have been taken out back and shot after this fight, honestly.
Yep, pretty much, right? So not saying any more about that one. This was the crazy grappling match, one of them. Tsuruya was just a human python all over Carlos Hernandez. Nothing Hernandez did, no intelligent defense, no jiu-jitsu escapes. Nothing he fucking did got Ray off of him. Ray was on him from the start of round 1 until the end of round 3. Not a lot of strikes going on, and honestly, I could care less because this was so interesting. The positions, the constant submission attacks. What are we showing for? They're giving 0 sub attempts, which is bullshit. But these guys were both constantly rolling.
I wonder what exactly the metric is for, like, it being a sub attempt, because obviously there's, like, preparation to start the sub attempt. I wonder how close you have to be for it to count.
They probably want it to be locked in and, like, see a guy actually, like, squeezing on stuff. But I'm almost certain that Ray attempted a calf slicer, as well as Carlos trying for a Kimura a couple of times. Not seriously, I guess, but, like, using it to
just
try to maneuver Ray. Well, actually, no, because, like, a Kimura is where you're using your 2 hands on the one guy's, like, arm and shoulder and, like, trying to tear his shoulder and arm apart. But you can also just use that to try to maneuver guys on the ground. And if a guy is trying to take you down, using that Kimura grip on one arm is going to stop him from being able to take you down. So I guess they're just not counting those as sub attempts, which makes sense.
Yeah. I guess.
But an awesome fight nonetheless.
Great, man.
Unanimous decision. Japan continues to take over the flyweight division. Love to see it.
Oh man, Joe Rogan said we should have a pay-per-view in Japan.
Yeah, and I agree.
I think it'd be sick.
So the first fight of the night, you had me again, you got me again. By the way, here now I'll say it at the very end.
I'll put it at the start. Yeah.
I'll have the big scoreboard up. Clark got 8 out of 12 fights right, and I got 6 out of 12. I'm hitting at that 50% clip. He was very right to pick against those 2 Canadian fighters. They sucked ass.
Leafs suck. Everyone knows that. Except for
Women. So I'm at a 50% clip for this one. Clark at 66%. That ain't bad. This was another one that we split on. Ricky Simón, Vinicius Oliveira. Ricky Simón had moments, but Vinicius Oliveira, I guess it turns out, is just a superhuman in every way. He was able to kick a man's knee with his shin, and it looked like his leg could have been fractured, and just kept fighting and kicking with that leg. It was way faster, was way more powerful. Nothing Ricky Simón tried to do got going. 2 of the judges gave Vinicius Oliveira all 3 rounds. I would have. If you look at these numbers, the accuracy isn't great. Ricky Simón was moving his head a lot, but it just didn't matter, right? If you're pretty much only trying to evade and your opponent is, even if he's only hitting at that 40% accuracy on his significant strikes, if he's doubling your output or tripling or quadrupling your output, he's winning. And when he hits Ricky Simón, he very clearly got better reactions. Really, really impressive performance from Vinicius. The one thing I do want to mention, and again, it's just cheating not being punished. After the bell at the end of round one, Ricky Simón kept staring, and Vinicius Oliveira, while the referee had his hands on him, the round had obviously ended, punched Ricky Simón after the bell, was not punished for it. That seems like an obvious point takeaway.
Like, that one is so fucking easy. You know what I mean? There's no ambiguity. There's no like, oh, well, maybe the ref didn't see it. Like, what the fuck? Like, just take the fucking point away. Just do it. Are you scared? The guy's gonna do that sort of shit. And Oliveira, honestly, like, he fought very well, but he was clearly like just like being like a smug prick the whole time. He did seem like, you know, Simón deserved to be in the ring with him or whatever, right? And so he's being all like taunting and making faces and doing that shit. Like, you're doing that kind of shit, you know, taunting, whatever. Obviously, no point taken away. But if you're gonna fucking punch a guy after the round's done, you're telling me that can't even get a fucking point taken away? You might as well take a shit in the middle of the ring at that point. Nothing's gonna take a point away. Punch the ref in the face. Punch the ref in the dick.
Yeah, I mean, it's pathetic. It is.
It honestly is.
We bitch about the reffing a lot, and I made a caveat the one day. You know, it's a tough job. You should still have to do your fucking job.
Right? Like, this was pretty easy. It's tough a lot of the time. This one I don't think was very hard at all.
No.
Can I just say though, Oliveira should fight Talbott, and that's just that. That's just that on that on that.
You're 100% correct. I like that matchup.
Give me a call, Dana. Anytime.
Hell yeah. And that was UFC 303. We had a lot of crazy fights. We had a lot of shitty fights mixed in there for coffee breaks if you needed them.
So you make supper.
I will stand by my statement. Alex Pereira, scariest man on planet Earth. And never forget, we love women.
We love women here, folks.
We'll catch you next time.
See ya on the prediction video, whenever the hell that happens. I don't know. Cut this part. Don't even put this part in. Take it all out. Just cut the whole thing.